So splits at the Bank of England over the extent of forward guidance, and don't crack open the champagne bottles just yet. Europe's economy isn't out of the woods. So says, I think, Edward had us at Breakingviews. I know you haven't written your European piece yet, but it's coming. We'll come on to that in a second. You and I talked about the Bank of England yesterday and Mark Carney. Now, these minutes will likely reinforce doubts that the bank will keep rates low for the next 3 years, right? Because Martin Wheel is a dissenter.
We have one dissent. I think that the part of the conversation that was not summarized in the minutes is the part that I really want to hear about, which is when they decided on the very strong knockout conditions, that is to say the conditions that would allow them to raise rates before unemployment falls. And those conditions are so strong that you could do that at any time. You could say, well, actually, inflation expectations aren't well anchored.
Yep.
We're done.
Yep.
We don't have any record of how those were come upon and what they were fought about. But my guess is that the price of unanimity for Mark Carney, the new governor, was indeed these very, very strong knockout conditions, which make the whole policy pretty much empty. So Martin Wheel's dissent is the last bit of that, but I don't think that that actually adds a huge amount to what we already can tell from reading the first statement, which is Carney's not really getting his way.
But some policymakers said they saw a compelling case to restart QE.
That dissent has been there since the beginning.
That's been there since the beginning.
Well,
months. He has clearly won them over to a degree, though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's the new boss, and, you know, I think anyone who's ever had a new boss knows the first thing you do when you get someone in is you say, yes, let me try and figure out and see the world your way. But you are dealing with some pretty strong-minded economists, so that will last roughly an hour or two, and I mean, a meeting or two, let's say. And you can already see people getting a little bit difficult with this, and I think, as I say, the knockout conditions suggest that he hasn't won them over all that much.
I didn't realize that in Canada, other policymakers were expected to follow the governor's lead.
Yes, I'm
as they're not here.
Exactly. But, it's one of those British things of, you know, sort of having free and frank interchanges and, you know, publishing dissents and so forth. The Americans and the Canadians are much more firm about the boss tells you what to do.
All right, on to the Eurozone. I know you haven't written your piece yet, but I'd like to try and pick your brains as to what you think about this. Are you a glass half empty or glass half full person on this?
I think I'm a glass sort of 52% full on this. I mean, if you look at a graph, what you see is basically about 4 years of, you know, a sharp decline, of mild recovery, and then 3-4 years of basically flat GDP from Europe. A little bit of a decline in the last 6 quarters, maybe 1.5%, and now we're regaining that. It's a lot better to see a positive number than a negative number. It's nice that the positive number is a little better than analysts were expecting. That suggests that there's a little more momentum. But we still have not broken out of stagnation. Then the stagnation, and there's really not a lot of sign of that. I think we will get some sign of that. I think we're moving forward now once and for all. But let's not get carried away in terms of that's a wish and an opinion and a judgment. That's not what the data is telling us yet.
And that's going to be the thrust of your piece. Let's not get carried away with it.
Yes, that's right.
Very good. Edward, many thanks for that. We can see that, of course, on the Breakingviews website a little bit later on. For more agenda-setting insight, watch our US show every day, 12:30 Eastern, 17:30 BST. I'm Axel Threlfall. This is Reuters.